1240.
After this cold start, expect lots of sunshine for your Wednesday. Staying chilly, afternoon highs near 45. Tonight, clear, lows back into the upper 20s. For Thursday, a beautiful day. Lots of sunshine, a nice warm-up near 55, and more clouds and some showers rolling in Friday. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried delicious chicken finger with their special world-famous sauce. Open daily, locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's. It's always good. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ward. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
President Obama's speech last night shares in the line of thinking that undergirds the Powerball excitement. The jackpot is $1.5 billion, and a story in the Chattanooga Times-Free Press tells us that about half the money that's collected goes to pay the winners, and that's about 50%. Altogether, 58 cents out of every dollar spent it goes to costs and to payouts. 42 cents goes to education, right? That education, as it's called, or the corporate cartels, which pretend to be state enterprises, state agencies that have guaranteed incomes, taxpayer support, and where the proceeds from the lottery go to pay Hope scholarships and Tennessee Promise funding. That's 42 cents out of every dollar. And the rest, well, 6.6% goes to retailers, and 1.2% goes back to lottery equipment, according to the story in the paper. And that's the rest is spent kind of on expenses. This is David Tulis, and we are a little bit in chagrin. We had hoped that somehow President Obama would change his mind about local economy and the free markets, and we watched with some hope, some maybe it was a vain hope, but at the time, and we probably should have realized it. But this morning we're crestfallen because he did not take a position in favor of local economy and free markets here in Chattanooga and Hamilton County, not even by implication, though he knows how in his speeches to appeal to you, my listener. There were 4 instances in his State of the Union speech last night in which his speechwriters clearly were making use of a point of law, a point in which when you write a legal brief, you always show the other side's position in its most favorable light. That's how you do that in order to defeat it. You have to raise up the specter of the other person's argument and then defeat it in detail. And if you misrepresent the other side, the judges are not going to really hear you because they know you're misrepresenting the other side's position. So to get a fair hearing, you want to elevate your opposition in its best way, and then either blur it, overwhelm it with rhetoric or lies or deceit or what have you, or other arguments. Right? That's how you win. And so the president in his speech had at least 4 instances in which he appealed to you. And what he did, you, my listener, who cares about local economy, he talked about the situation somewhat as you see it. And he did that so that you would identify with his overall argument, that you would find yourself nestled into the narrative of this very poetical presentation, which has a reading time, according to the White House, of about 20 minutes. And he wants to show you that he understands you and he's taking into account what you're saying. Okay, but now he's got this other agenda. You might say a national agenda, which of course is nothing new. So why even bother talking about a national agenda when we've had it since the time of Lincoln, right? The fighting a war for union and peaceable union by killing several 100,000 Southerners. In one part, in his reference to climate change, he said that it's one of many issues where our security is linked with the rest of the world. Of course, that's a wonderfully globalist argument. And he said that's why the third big question we have to answer is to how to keep America safe and strong without either isolating ourselves or trying to nation build everywhere there's a problem. Now, that little phrase right there shows you that he is borrowing from your vernacular, right? He's taking what you say about America's policeman of the world problem and accounting for it and making you think that, well, he certainly wouldn't intend to do that, right? He certainly has no intention of being a policeman, the world's policeman, wherever a problem crops up. No way. So he has a kind of casual lingo there, again, to connect with you, my common man listener. And that is what we are, after all, here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We are the common people, right? We are the proles, if you will, the proletariat, as some of the university elites would describe us. We're kind of right-wing proletariats. I'm sure that there are names like that would apply to me. I don't accept that, of course, but that is what we're called. There's another instance. He says, the world will look to us to help solve these problems, and our answer. Now, here's where it gets really good for you, and you'll think like you'll think that President Obama, the federal president, really thinks about you, right? He thinks about you, and he's in fact, he's read some of your Facebook posts and knows exactly what you're thinking. Our answer needs to be more than tough talk or calls to carpet bomb civilians. That may work as a TV soundbite, but it doesn't pass muster on the world stage, because he's heard you say, well, that's all we do is carpet bomb civilians, and we need to take care of the Mideast problem just by blowing it all to smithereens. He's heard you say that, and he understands your sense of resentment about that. He goes on to say, we also can't try to rebuild every country in the same vein here. That falls into crisis. That's not leadership. That's a recipe for a quagmire, spilling American blood and treasure that ultimately weakens us. It's the lesson of Vietnam, of Iraq, and we should have learned it by now. Well, let me ask you, do you think that as we think about local economy and the sucking away from it of capital, that we have learned anything, the we being, of course, us Americans, we Americans, have we learned really anything? He says, fortunately, there's a smarter approach, a patient and disciplined strategy that uses every element of our national power. It says America will always act alone if necessary to protect our people and our allies. Again, here he's appealing to your sense of courage, right? Your independence, your maverick ideas. But on issues of global concern, we will mobilize the world to work with us and make sure our other countries pull their own weight. Again, he's recognizing that you, my listener, resent having to fund the military budgets of dozens of other countries. That's our approach, he says, to conflicts like Syria, where we're partnering with local forces and leading international efforts to help. Okay, well, that's a little bit of hypocrisy that follows very closely upon the heel of his appeal to us. And after that, he goes into a discussion about the Trans-Pacific Partnership to, as you say, open markets. And the main line of that's in the front page of the newspaper today on page 1. Here too, he wants us to think that if we fix our politics, that we've solved our problems. Can I ask you, can you really solve national problems that are political in nature, that have been brought about by the exercise of statute? Can you fix those problems by writing more statutes, by writing more codes and more CFR, more lines in the Code of Federal Register? I should say more hundreds of, maybe thousands of lines in those estimable volumes pouring out of Washington. Fixing politics may not be the answer, and that's why I think that your idea about local economy is probably more correct than his about national economy. He sees national economy, and he pretends, of course, to account for local economy, and he does that at the end of his speech. I don't know if you heard that part, but he appeals to lococentrism in the dramatic part of the speech, just near the end. And getting there, though, in where he discusses our politics, he very artfully weaves in things that you think and incorporates ideas and concepts that are hesitant to favor him into the idea of democracy. And he says democracy does require basic bonds of trust between its citizens. He should say among its citizens. It doesn't work if we think the people who disagree with us are all motivated by malice or that our political opponents are unpatriotic. Democracy grinds to a halt without a willingness to compromise, or when even basic facts are contested, and we listen only to those who agree with us. Our public life withers when only the most extreme voices get attention. Most of all, democracy breaks down when the average person feels their voice doesn't matter, or that the system is rigged in favor of the rich or the powerful, or some narrow interest. See, here he's appealing to the people who don't vote, probably rightly, because they realize the system is, as he says, rigged in favor of the rich or the powerful or some narrow interest. Of course, the suggestion is from him that, well, that's not really true, right? We have as he says, a democracy, and he wants us to think that we have something that we've never had. We've never had a democracy. We had a Republican form of government with states as the basis initially, and then we shifted with the war to a kind of military and state controlled autocracy, or even a kleptocracy, starting with General Grant. He says, too many Americans feel that way right now. It's one of the few regrets of my presidency that the rancor and suspicion between the parties has gotten worse instead of better. And he wants you to think that you, my listener, have maybe contributed to that, intending well, of course, but somehow you and he, you need to work together. You two need to work together to reduce the rancor, to reduce this bitterness. And how, of course, are we to do that? Well, we're to do that by being compatible. We independents, we conservatives, we free marketers, we who are Republicans, right? We have to work with the other side. We have to kind of end our hostility. There's something unreasonable and bitter about it. We've become entrenched in our way of thinking, according to President Obama. And now we need to come with amity, with friendship, to an end. And there's one, the fourth point about his inducing us to see him as our friend and our ally is in the little sketches at the end, which are almost in all of his speeches. And it is you could call it a dramatic flourish, a writer's flourish. These are things which show you that President Obama, like God himself, is omnipresent. He is everywhere, sees everything. And of course, the president, I think, probably unwittingly attaches other attributes of God to his office, and that would be omnipotence and omniscience, all power, omnipotent, all potent. And then omniscience is all science, all knowledge. Omniscience. Science is referring to knowledge. And he has that too, of course, and that is through the agencies that the Republicans have created, the surveillance apparatus, as well as Democrats. He says, but I see your quiet, sturdy citizenship all the time, he says. He says, I see it in the worker on the assembly line who clocked extra shifts to keep his company open, and the boss who pays him higher wages to keep him on board. I see it in the dreamer who the foreigner who's here trying to make a living in the American dream, who stays up late to finish her science project, and the teacher who comes in early because he knows she might someday cure a disease. I see it in the American who served his time and dreams of starting over. The man who's been in the federal pen, right? And the business owner who gives him that second chance. The protester determined to prove that justice matters, and that the young cop walking the beat. And here we're just with the cop on his beat. And he goes on to say, treating everybody with respect, doing the brave, quiet work of keeping us safe. Well, that, of course, is if you didn't realize, that's what cops are there for. They're there to keep you safe, as Kim Norbergen said in an interview with TV3 yesterday. And then one more little flash where there's this empathy that the president wants us to have. And he says, it's the son who finds the courage to come out as who he is, and the father whose love for that son overrides everything he's been taught. And then that's the question of the devastation that a father has when his son says, Dad, I'm a queer. Okay, I'm a queer and I can't help it, and I love my best friend at school. That's the moment of devastation that the father has, and the son is outing himself. He's revealing himself, coming out as who he is, the president says. This is David Tulis, and we are here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. The poofter son, loved by his father, despite his sins and his rejection of Christianity, his rejection of traditional morality. This is David Tulis, and caller, you're on the air live. What's on your mind?
It's just as torturous hearing you talk about his words as him speaking. I physically get ill when I hear this lunatic president speak. He's not that line. Let me tell you something, David. Republicans, you're embarrassing. This governor, Nikki Haley, what a loser. What a total loser. Anytime you hear a Republican call us a democracy, they're a rhino loser. They love Obama because they agreed with everything he did during his last 4 years. They just didn't have the courage to do it themselves because we still have the Affordable Care Act. They're still doing illegal and unconstitutional things in Washington. And these weak, liberal, rhino Republicans are at fault. We know Democrats are losers. Everyone knows they're weak. They're socialists. They're baby killers. There's no hope for a Democrat. They're pathetic. But Republicans who claim to have the values they claim, and then she gives the rebuttal and takes blame for this, as though to say, okay, someone like Donald Trump is not electable. You need another rhino. She is pathetic. She needs to go home and bake cookies. She will never, ever get elected again. And I'll tell you this. If a real true patriot doesn't get in next time, I would suggest the military just arrest every single one of these guys. There should be a coup and a trial for treason and sedition. That's what I want to see.
Well, there has already been a coup, and it occurred during the administration of FDR, and it may even have made some of the papers, especially those papers that carried the columns of Garrett, who was a journalist famous for his opposition to the revolution from within that he writes about in various very notable books, including one very slim volume called The People's Pottage. It's a famous history of that period, and we are in a revolution now. And one thing I did notice in the snippet of Governor Haley's presentation with her blue suit was that she has very nice teeth, and she made a very competent presentation of what standard Republicans, I suppose, are likely to say and believe. Well, the question, I guess, is, do we find local economy in his presentation? Is there any hope for us here if we look just to that speech as a framework of the coming light, right? The coming rescue, the coming improvement directed towards us from the great ones, from the good people in Washington. And I'd like to think that there is. I'm always hopeful. I like to be naive sometimes, just so I can feel and let my emotions be drawn in by this wonderful rhetoric from the president's presentation. And I'm someone who, a free marketer I was hypnotized by Bill Clinton when he spoke. Knowing better, of course, I could feel my soul sort of drawn into belief in what he was saying, and he was so earnest, and he had it's called a telegenic personality, of course. But there's something that he was able to do, and I think President Obama has something like that. He's very, very winning, and he wants us to think that he understands us, and that's why you have these little sketches, which are in a way inappropriate for the man who heads policy, right? The man who oversees 50 nations through his corporation, which is to say the United States of America, overseeing ostensibly protecting the people ostensibly through the Constitution, but in fact a deep state organism well behind, in many layers behind the government, right? There's the government with Chuck Fleischman with his naysaying about the speech, and Scott Deschorlais and his naysaying about the speech. Those are the people in government, and that's what we think. Those people are the ones we think have charge. We may not like them. We may grumble about them being Republicans and not free market enough and so on. But behind them, behind even President Obama, there's the deep state. The deep state with its mysteries, and there are recent books that have looked into some of those mysteries, that there are actors and agencies and bodies and interests that have one step in government and one step in the state. The state is, again, a kind of a mystical corporation to which we attribute far more benevolence and mercy than is, of course, there. There is no mercy in the deep state at all. There is no mercy in the state. The state is simply a self-propagating machine which intends to keep its form and its prerogatives until the bitter end. And that bitter end is, of course, one day closer than it was yesterday, right? We don't know when that will happen and the form it will take. But our goal here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio is to help you think through these things and not to be caught off guard. To realize that in the great run against capital, right? The great decapitalization, which we are facing, and now we haven't not been facing it since probably the 1880s. Well, actually, since the 1865 is when it really began. But there have been major steps: the Progressive Era, the FDR era, the Great Society era, of course, the wars which consumed the entire economy, the World War II. Specifically absorbing where the state absorbed almost the entire economy. There were industrialists who had taxes that were 150% of their actual income, and there was an inversion of reason in the war economy. And of course, we all got used to it. And your great uncles and aunts who are now in the grave, they went through that, and they knew that nothing could happen without an approval somewhere, or a committee, a selectmen, local county selectmen, or given power by government to ration gas coupons or bread coupons. We all were trained into submission by the war. The war economy converted a domestic economy into a war economy, and we still have many traces of that, including income tax withholding. That comes from the war economy, and we are the worst for it. But these things are there. What do we do? Where do we go? Can we find more liberty? Can we have a better local economy in spite of these things, in spite of this soaring rhetoric and this identification that the president wants us to have with him, his party, his government, and all the human beings that are part of government there in that great hall last night, and the state behind it? Can we identify with it? Can it identify with us? What do you think?
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
After this cold start, expect lots of sunshine for your Wednesday. Staying chilly, afternoon highs near 45. Tonight, clear, lows back into the upper 20s. For Thursday, a beautiful day. Lots of sunshine, a nice warm-up near 55, and more clouds and some showers rolling in Friday. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried delicious chicken finger with their special world-famous sauce. Open daily, locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's. It's always good. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
On your signature, you can get $150,000. Can you believe that? $150,000 on your signature. Hi, I'm Bruce Krebs with the Entrepreneur Source. There's a program right now that you can get $150,000 on your signature with no pledge of collateral or personal guarantee. Call me at 423-875-5621 to learn more. 423-875-5621. You've been thinking about starting a business and becoming self-sufficient. Don't do it on your own. I have a proven track record for the last 13 years, a 96% success rate. I can guide you into a franchise where you will pay yourself through the startup phase with very low or little risk. Call me now. I'm Bruce Krebs at 423-875-5621. 875-5621. And make sure to listen to the Entrepreneur Hour every other Wednesday from 11 to 12 o'clock here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Call me now, 875-5621.
While politicians debate climate change and taking our guns, they leave America vulnerable to disaster. You need to act now to keep your family safe and prepared. Do you have an emergency plan? Do you have long-term storage food? Do you have the skills and mindset to survive a disaster? If not, what are you waiting for? Call P5 Preparedness right now, 423-602-2175. Do you honestly think the government is going to help you? If you do, you are wrong, dead wrong. Don't get caught unprepared. Let the experts at P5 Preparedness get you ready for any emergency or disaster situation. Today, we offer a wide range of classes for the beginner on how to prepare, as well as the expert prepper. We stock a wide range of supplies, including long-term storage food, water filtration, outdoor gear, tactical gear, and plate carriers. P5 Preparedness, East Brainerd Road between I-75 and Gun Barrel Road. You will see the Army Deuce and a Half truck, 423-602-2175, 1309 Panorama Drive, Chattanooga. P5preparedness.com.
blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. President Obama visiting Nebraska and Louisiana the day after his final State of the Union message, where he laid out his vision for generations to come. In addition to touting progress on the economy, the president
touched on gun control and climate change, and he talked terrorism, downplaying the threat of ISIS.
Over-the-top claims that this is World War III just play into their hands.
He did say we need to destroy the group.
Fox Radio's Rachel Sutherland. Candidates who hope to replace the president weighing in.
He has always underestimated the threat of ISIS.
Florida Senator Marco Rubio watched the address from the House chamber. Fellow GOP candidate Senator Ted Cruz described it as a state of denial.
Fox Radio's Jared Halpern, the GOP address delivered by South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, who told NBC she'd be willing and open to the idea of being the running mate for a Republican nominee. Fox News, we report. You decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. Dr. Greg Martin, a representative in District 3 for the Hamilton County School Board, he's a chairman of the policy committee, has announced that he's named a special citizens advisory committee to aid the school board with a comprehensive review of its policies and procedures concerning discrimination, harassment, and hazing, bullying and intimidation, field trips, extracurricular activities, and related matters in public schools. A truck driver from Missouri has been arrested in Chattanooga after two women say he pointed a gun at them while they were driving on I-75. One of the women said that she was trying to pass the truck coming through Hamilton County when he held a handgun out of his driver's side window in his left hand. Deputies say they stopped the truck at the Bonnie Oaks exit, and when they did an inspection, they found marijuana and a .22 caliber handgun. And two Decatur men were arrested in Chattanooga after a pharmacist said the prescription they presented was for a long-dead doctor. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
After this cold start, expect lots of sunshine for your Wednesday. Staying chilly, afternoon highs near 45. Tonight, clear, lows back into the upper 20s. For Thursday, a beautiful day. Lots of sunshine, a nice warm-up near 55, and more clouds and some showers rolling in Friday. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried delicious chicken finger with their special world-famous sauce. Open daily, locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's. It's always good. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio.
Go, 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 go. You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
A man connected with the P5 prepper store in Chattanooga on East Brainerd Road. His name is Keith Riddle, and he has an essay that I had seen elsewhere. It was brought to my attention that KR in TN is Keith Riddle in Tennessee. And the essay, which you may have seen reference to as well, is called Normalcy Bias. And the copy I'm looking at is at survivalblog.com. That's survivalblog.com. And the essay is Normalcy Bias. And what he's saying as a former military man is how we tend to look at news and look at developments that are in the world around us, and we assume, because there is a lot of repetition of the type of things that are happening, and the sorts of events and obtrusions that we encounter, that's the norm. But it's not necessarily the norm, and there's a way of countering this bias, and he does, and you do it by what he says is maintaining a high index of suspicion. Just because things look relatively calm now, we keep our head and eyes up and eyes open when dealing with our patients, he says, because we know that stable situations fall apart quickly, and the sooner we recognize that slide, the faster we can react. Treat the patient and get back ahead of the curve. It's no different in the world of preps or preppers. You have to have your head on a swivel for what's coming down the pike, and it comes from being that high index of suspicion comes from being well informed and studied on the potential for problems, as well as the signs and symptoms of those problems. He says situational awareness was drilled into all of us in Marine Corps aircrew training. And of course, it's different from paranoia. Situational awareness is keeping your ears open. He says paranoia is believing everything you hear. And he says he talks with all kinds of folks who are customers of P5, the prepper store here in Chattanooga. It's just behind you. If you go down East Brainerd Road, you're going up the hill, going under the overpass of the interstate on East Brainerd, and then as you go up the hill on the right, you'll see that big Army truck, and that's from P5 Preparedness. And the man who wrote this piece that's circulating on the internet has had quite a bit of interest is Keith Riddle, who works at that store, a former military man. This is David Tulis, and we are brought to you by Choo Choo Barbecue and also P5, the preparedness store. Choo Choo Barbecue has fare of a different order. It's consumable immediately, and it doesn't hold for a long time because it's too tempting to delay the consumption of, and that is, of course, your pork sandwich, your chicken sandwich, or your barbecue beef sandwich with the slaw on top, and then order also a salad on the side. Choo Choo Barbecue is there for you. Go for lunch today. Put Choo Choo Barbecue of Hickson on your intended local economy support list. Okay, these are people you want to enjoy patronizing, but also because they are local. And we argue here that you should love your neighbor and buy local. Don't be indifferent as to the matter of the distinction between local and national. National businesses siphon off the profit. They are part of the industrial credit economy, the trucking transport economy, and a local outfit, whether it's a restaurant or a store, has many things to offer that are loco-centric, favoring local suppliers. Try Choo Choo Barbecue. The number is 870-7894, 870-7894 for catering. That call for the catering arrangements at Choo Choo Barbecue. Want to let you know that we're members of Trade Bank of Chattanooga, which is the smarter way to barter. And to improve your cash flow, we trade among 400 local businesses of all sizes, great and small, national players, local players. And Jürgen Mutz, the German with the southern twang, would love to talk to you about what he can do for you in the way of saving cash. His number is 877-2202, 877-2202, Trade Bank of Chattanooga. My name is David Tulis, and we are thinking about President Obama's presentation last night, and we're trying to conform. Right, we're trying to see how we can maybe work with him a little bit on some of his agenda items. We're glad, of course, that the national government is saving the globe through its investments in the war on global warming, including, as we've had several intense days recently of stratospheric aerosol geoengineering. We have him to thank for that too. There has been in his time in office a ramping up of this important service, these injections of cloud cover, which are in fact a very dangerous pollutant called coal fly ash, and that is why these clouds have sometimes a brownish tint. That why they when they linger in the sky at sunset, create this most dramatic sunsets. We've had in the past few days several of them. Again, pollution and dust it is a kind of a dust that's laid in the sky, accomplishing many purposes. Some of them hidden. No doubt some of them contraindicative to your health, right? In other words, not healthy, likely to sicken you, likely to bring a bit of poison into your system where if it is in the nature of aluminum, will end up in kind of the center of your brain, where with years of buildup, it'll have an effect on you when you're 67. You'll just suddenly not remember things anymore, and you will begin a long and dreary turning down with your mental capacities and your sense of presence and your memory. There is a story about in the Chattanooga Times Free Press about the city council approving changes to pet licenses. And this happened Tuesday, and the lead in the story says it will make it easier for dog and cat owner to get a license. But there's still an effort to since this is now their jurisdiction, the council's jurisdiction, pet ownership. They want to tinker with it further, maybe limiting the number of pets a person can have. Do you know that it's illegal? It violates the ordinance to have a pet in Chattanooga. It's illegal to do it. You are violating the city ordinance if you have a pet. However, the city is going to rescue you from that bleak place where the president consigns some of his enemies, at least in his oaths, and that would be the place where you're the outlaw. But you can become an in-law as opposed to an outlaw. You become an in-law, a friend of the city, by buying a license for $10. The story explains all cats and dogs over 3 months. The story says must have a license purchased for $10 per pet, either from the animal center or from a licensed veterinarian. And then there's a question about the expiration dates on those licenses. Chris Anderson and Jerry Mitchell sponsored the resolution, and I guess we have them to thank for one more area of private life that is made a public matter that people in high office think is very important, that there be more public in private, and that the private realm be reduced even in its most innocuous areas, its most harmless areas. The ownership of a cat, right? A cat that actually has a name, but that named being that seems to have a soul, right? And that thinks somehow that it owns you. That being has to have that sentient being has to have a license. Rather, you have to have a license to keep it. And well, there's a more on the police front, which we have taken an interest in of late, since it is a local economy issue. There are couple of stories. One is on TV3 by Natalie Potts. It is about a story at the top of I think yesterday's Metro page, about the police department on a mission, as she says, to hire trained, experienced officers. What I find interesting is that journalists today always provide the rationale for the state's operations against the marketplace, against the free market, and against liberties. And it's in little sketches like this. This is a couple of sentences, paragraph 3 at WRCB.com. From mentoring kids to changing tires, catching the bad guy, and catching the burglar. And then there are, of course, little screenshots there. Police officers ask you to slow down and stop you when you don't. They also keep us safe and run toward danger when we need them most. That is an attempt at poetry, a kind of doggerel poetry, no doubt, but it is it is the rationale for why we have cops. Well, don't forget, if we didn't have cops, these things would be done by ordinary people, right? Ordinary people would help other ordinary people change tires. The man with his nice suit on his way home and ready to see his child and children and his wife, he pulls over, though it could be late for dinner. Why? Because he sees a woman on the side of the road, and she is just opening the trunk to get out her tire, and he realizes that she's got a problem. And no, he's not going to pass. And he's not going to pass because she is a woman. She is superior to him, and he knows it. And so he is going to pull over and assist her with his brawn, even though he's got new cufflinks on and a very white shirt that's on the first day of wearing and is not dark at all along the wrists. But he may damage that shirt a little bit in helping that woman with his tire. That is done in the private sector. These are private mercies extended among the good people of Chattanooga. And yet, we've got to have police departments to make sure that things like that can be done if need be, and to slow down, right? And you are the object of regulation, and you're going to be stopped if you don't slow down. And they keep us safe and run toward danger when we need them most. And there, the scenes were from July 16. You have those Chattanooga Police Department officers lying on the ground with their M4 carbines aimed in the direction of the Mohammed Abdulaziz. We are currently at around 440 officers, which means 250 uniformed police officers out in patrol cars. Captain Kim Norbergen says, a very mannish figure in her uniform with her webbing, giving an interview to Natalie Potts. We need more uniformed officers right now. And, well, maybe we do, maybe we don't. I think my report of a couple of days ago at Nooganomics.com indicated that the number in last year's comprehensive financial report put that at, I think, about 480. So that was the number I gave, even though now there are vacancies. The story is about the training regimen and the need seen by the administration of speeding up the academy times just a little bit. Another story talks about Speaker Montague Simmons, who is the executive director of Organization for Black Struggle in St. Louis, speaking here at First Baptist Church on 8th Street on Tuesday. And people who had come some distance to this event from the Concerned Citizens for Justice and the Unity Group, a kind of liberal Christian group, that one. And he says, well, there's a quote from Ashley Henderson of Concerned Citizens for Justice. She says, Dr. Martin Luther King lived a radical life. He lived and left a radical legacy that we are all standing on. And there's concern in the presentation of Montague Simmons about violence by police brutality. But what we don't find from many of these activists who are minorities is a reconsideration from the get-go of the state enterprise of peacekeeping. And we're so caught up with abuses, and that we want there to be fewer abuses, right? No one really considers of abolition of the very concept of police departments. And I know I'm saying things that perhaps are not ripe to say. There's not, even though we have 2 years of police violence, highly noted. Well, actually 1 year, highly noted, and there is interest in some of these some of these theories. We are a long way off from abolition. There's a story at countercurrentnews.com about a police shooting a 12-year-old girl to death while serving an eviction notice on her father. Very pretty girl, a very sincere-looking young person, and an officer named Clark Steele approached her family's front door, according to WHTM, and killed Kiara Meyer. She's a student at Susquehanna Middle School. And another local source called the Sentinel said that Pennsylvania State Constable Steele had gone to an apartment on Tuesday there to enforce an eviction notice. The girl's father, Don, was at the door, and he had a .223 caliber rifle, Mini 14 maybe, or something like an M4, and it was aimed at the chest of this officer. Of course, that's not confirmed now. Police are saying that Steele fired at Meyer, but the bullet went through his arm and hit Kiara, who was to the side and behind of him, dead at the scene at Fouts Apartments in Duncannon, Pennsylvania. And so the officers don't know how to defuse situations. They don't know how to not take offense. I mean, it's possible for a private person to aim a gun at an officer and not intend to kill him. Okay, that can be a demonstration. But usually when that happens, the civilian, as he's called, is shot dead on the spot without consideration of bullets entering into a dwelling where people are living. See, that's what happens. It's so important that diffusion not take place by words and backing off and such comments as that, an attempt to ameliorate the situation by conversation. No, you draw, your life's in danger, and you fire. And here a girl is shot down. People who are concerned about the police needing to think, I would suggest, in the direction of eventual abolition, right, an eventual prohibition, which can happen town by town. It doesn't have to happen from the state level. It doesn't have to even happen as a constitutional amendment, say in Tennessee. It can be done town by town. And there are some municipal governments that have abolished their departments and seen great reductions in crime. Oddly enough, there's a story about how these entities are creating new potential dangers in encounters with members of the public. And the story is by Matt Agarist, who's a writer, and I'm trying to remember where I found this story. And it's about a software which lets an officer enter a database with your car tag, and it crawls over billions of records in commercial and public databases, including all available social media engagement, recent purchases, and, quote, any comments that could be construed as offensive. The application then determines if your threat rating is green, yellow, or red. Now, is it severe? There's a severe threat in getting out of the car and talking to this person, according to your software, or is it mild? Don't have to worry about this person. He's an innocuous environmentalist, or someone who complains about President Obama, someone who's very innocuous. Until this point, you've never committed a crime. You've never been violent. You've never even so much as run a stop sign. However, the officer knows that you made a comment about him, right, in your town, in a recent encounter where he hit somebody, right, on Facebook. And because you did that, he sees red, which is that you are a threat rating. Well, what happens to a routine traffic stop then, right? You're driving 10 miles over the limit, and now you have something because the officer's excitement, right? He's excited and threatened by the rating of this pre-crime analysis software. And so he comes at you, gun already aimed at you, right? He's got that little orange beam on your throat. If you could just see it there, it's there. And he is looking at you, and he wants to see your registration and driver's license, right? As the police department officers always do. They stop you, and they want to see that you're in commerce, and so they ask for your commercial papers, and go from there. We are brought to you at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio by YouTube. On YouTube, you can see whether my bow tie is in order today. I must say it's a fruity selection, I must say. And I had a hard time tying it this morning, and so it looks like a 38 caliber snubby, really very snubby, and it's cocked. Okay, it's cocked, a 38 caliber snub nose bow tie, and it looks kind of dangerous. I think my wife Jeanette, if she were to inspect me today, she would say, "David, no." But I would say, "Well, we're not going to a funeral wake today, so probably it's okay, Jeanette, right?" And she would probably just sigh, and as I try to rush out, I'm trying to get into my van, my minivan, right, that I drive. And if I'm a salesman, also I'm a radio station host, but also a salesman. Would you rather deal with a radio salesman who comes to you in a sports car or in a minivan? You ask yourself, which is the more trustworthy person. So we've got both here at our station. We have minivans and we have sports cars among our talented advertising sales staff. We're brought to you by E.J. Pelton, the numbers guy, Eric Pelton. And his business is one in which you have your numbers churned and chilled and cooled and shuffled, and you come out saving on taxes and finding ways of reducing your cash flow and maintaining your cash flow. That's Eric Pelton, the CPA. EJPelton.com is his web address. You call him at 622-3156, 622-3156, and you'll be well treated. You'll find him very businesslike, very personable, and a good man in which to trust your accounts, your books, and even your payroll. My name is David Tulis, and a very contented patron of a printer here in town. I go out of my way to go to Advantage Printing. It's inconvenient for me to go there. It really is, but I go there because Alan Jones does a great service, always giving me the advantage. And it's an in-house design, digital printing, mailing services, large format projects. He has a printer which can print an object, 30 feet long and 60 inches wide, something like that. Huge print area. And that's at Advantage Printing, 629-1800, 629-1800. I really appreciate you giving me a couple of minutes of your time. This is David Tulis.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
From all of us here at Hot News Talk Radio, thank you for patronizing our sponsors. It's important that you support people that support and advertise with Hot News Talk Radio, so we can continue to deliver the outstanding programs that you desire. And if you'd like to advertise on Hot News Talk Radio, you can email us at hotnewstalkradio@gmail.com. That's hotnewstalkradio@gmail.com. Or call 423-458-5563. That's 458-5563.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
I love my Flex loan from Advance Financial. I needed cash, I needed it fast, and I didn't want to get a payday loan. My Flex loan from Advance Financial is not a payday loan. It's a line of credit. I only pay for the cash I need, and I only pay for the time that I need it. There's no lump sum payment. My Advance Financial Flex loan is an open line of credit, and I can get cash anytime I need it.
Visit one of our 24/7 locations and get the cash you need today. Advance Financial. Welcome.
Accountants and tax preparers talk about helping you, but here's someone with help you can use right now as you plan for tax season. EJ Pelton Company has a website with excellent financial tools, ejpelton.com. Click any topic: budgeting, college, debt, mortgage, income, insurance, payroll and benefits, retirement. Go to ejpelton.com right now, and later today, give yourself time to think about taxes and the help you'll need. ejpelton.com, open 52 weeks a year, always available for questions or tax help. EJ Pelton, a company to depend on at tax time. Think ahead. ejpelton.com. Call 332-3339. That's 332-3339.
Chattanooga Patriots Prepper Show every Thursday from 11 to noon on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Don't be a victim. Arm yourself today at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, offering the finest selection of personal firearms and ammo, especially the hard-to-find ammunition. You know the police can't protect you. They show up after the crime is committed. The ability to protect yourself, your family, and when called upon, your nation is enshrined in the United States Constitution. Shop the largest selection of shooting supplies on their online store, CarterShootingSupply.com. Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range, the largest and cheapest selection in Chattanooga. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099. That's 344-1099. Keep your family safe by buying them a certificate for Carter Shooting Supply Tennessee Handgun Permit Class. And stop by today to consult one of their qualified experts. They'll fit you perfectly to the firearm that meets your needs. Call 344-1099. You'll always find the widest selection of new and used firearms at Carter Shooting Supply and Indoor Range. 6210 Highway 58, Harrison. Call 344-1099.
I'm the type of guy that likes a big breakfast, a couple of eggs, bacon, and some gravy and biscuits. I get that at Wimpy's. I know they have specials at lunch every day. That includes a big meat and three menu. At night, I want some good comfort food. Maybe some smoked brisket, pulled barbecue, or ribs. They've got that too. Wimpy's the type of place where you can go in and have a good conversation, catch up what's going on in Soddy Daisy, and have some great food. That's why I go to Wimpy's. You know where it's at, on Dayton Boulevard, right across from City Hall. That's Wimpy's. Give them a call, 423-332-6201. Did you hear me? It's 332-6201. Wimpy's. They're even on Facebook at Wimpy's. I know your mouth is watering just like mine, so let's go to Wimpy's.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
We do the best quality work. We have the best customer service, the most competitive prices around.
Cell Surgeon, a painless operation to fix your sick device.
Well, if you have a cheap charger or something that's not really designed for your phone, it can mess with your battery. It can actually fry your phone. So you need to make sure you have a quality product that's going to be designed for your phone.
Cell Surgeon, your smartphone doctor's in the house at the Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
If you charge it in the morning and, by noon, it's at, 50% under normal use. That means your battery's pretty much dead. And once you've reached that point, it starts to deteriorate.
Cell Surgeon, call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com.
We do free estimates. If your phone's not working properly, bring it in. We're happy to take a look at it and diagnose it and see what we think is wrong with it at no charge. Most phone repairs can be done in 30 minutes or less.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
Don't take it in the bathroom. Don't ever put it in your back pocket. And don't charge your phone while you're sleeping.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza. Call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com. That's cellphonerepairchattanooga.com. Cell Surgeon, your smart device doctor is in the house.
When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sunny Daisy, Chattanooga. CBS News, I'm Frank Sittapani. President Obama's final State of the Union address is history, which means it's time for the customary day-after road trip. At the White House, CBS's Margaret Brennan tells us what the president hopes to accomplish.
Today, the president will sound a lot like candidate Obama as he flies to Nebraska and Louisiana to promote this message of hope and change once again. You can expect the White House to change their communication strategy in the months to come. They've promised more town hall style events to have